Starlink 7-16 on March 19th, Starlink 9-2 on June 24th. Then we have a transporter rideshare mission. This is Transporter 11, sending 116 satellites into a sun synchronous orbit as part of SpaceX's small sat rideshare program. And then this booster goes back to Starlink land until the present day, as we're closing in on the 7-minute mark in the chill down of the 9 Merlin engines ahead of this upcoming flight. Starlink 9-17 on September 20th of last year, 9-9 on October 30th, 9-13 on November 24th, 11-3 on December 29th, and most recently at Starlink 11-4 back on February 1st. Been more than 100 days since we've seen this booster fly, and we've got views now of the Falcon 9. You can see the strong back is reclined. Fairly overcast right on top of Vandenberg is the view from the Goes West satellite was suggesting.
Stage 1 lock load is complete.
Call there on stage 1 LOX load. We're waiting a similar call on the second stage now. Under 2 minutes now. We should be getting a call on second stage LOX load momentarily.
Stage 2 lock load is complete.
Seeing the venting from the ground gas closeouts there. It's the Falcon 9 fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellant.
Gas launch closeout has started.
Good call there. Less than a minute and a half to go now before the Falcon 9 takes flight from here at Vandenberg.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Good call there. We're now just awaiting the SpaceX launch director to give their go for launch. Should be coming up in a few seconds.
Launch director, go for launch.
And with that, we're going to step back on our commentary until the other side of liftoff and listen in for the last 30 seconds ahead of flight.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff of Falcon 9. Go SpaceX, go Starlink.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Now 40 seconds into flight, a good liftoff of the Falcon 9 there from Vandenberg.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Coming up on the other side of the first minute of flight will be max Q, the point of greatest aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
Rocket now traveling faster than the speed of sound. As you can see the California coastline.
Max Q.
Good call for max Q. Soon SpaceX will be chilling the Merlin engine, the vacuum engine, on the second stage as it prepares for the start of its first burn.
MVAC chill.
There's that call for that. We'll see a few events in fairly rapid succession here after minute 2. First stage main engine cutoff, or MECO, when all 9 Merlin engines of the booster conclude their first burn. That'll come up at around T plus 2 minutes and 24 seconds. That'll be followed a few seconds afterward by stage separation, and then the ignition of that Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. A nice crisp view of the coastline here. Builds a nice shot of the curvature of the Earth. So we're approaching MECO.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
Good calls from SpaceX, good visuals from the onboard cameras on the Falcon 9 as well. The payload fairings will be deployed here in a few seconds.
Fairing separation confirmed.
The good fairing separation. Following atmospheric reentry, they will splash down to the waters of the Pacific Ocean under the support of steerable parachutes. You can see one of those falling away as we speak. Coming up next, the big milestone we're looking for is the start of the first stage entry burn. That's when SpaceX will use 3 out of the 9 Merlin engines at the base of the Falcon 9 booster to begin to dramatically slow the vehicle down. Now about 4 minutes into flight, the puffs that you're seeing occasionally between the hypersonic grid fins on the left-hand side of your screen, those are the cold gas thrusters, which help the booster adjust its attitude or positioning as it begins to orient itself to target a touchdown on the drone ship called, of course, I Still Love You. Booster now also reaching its apogee in this flight. Looks like it's going to top out at about 116 kilometers in altitude. Now starting to make its descent towards the drone ship. In addition to this being potentially SpaceX's 131st booster landing on, of course, I Still Love You, a successful touchdown today would also mark the 361st successful drone ship landing. Now 5 minutes into flight. Appears to be good trajectories on both the first and second stages. A nominal burn, by all accounts, on that Merlin vacuum engine so far. Now coming up on minute 6 in this mission, and the start of the
Vehicles
first.
are on a nominal trajectory.
Good trajectory confirmation. Landing burn coming up here in about 10 seconds. Entry burn, excuse me. Jumping ahead of myself.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Stage 1 FTS has saved.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
And with the conclusion of the entry burn, coming up next will be the start of the landing burn, in actuality. That's coming up at about 1 minute from now. That will call upon just one of the Merlin engines at the base of the booster.
Stage 2 FTS has
Stage
saved.
1 transonic. Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And with that confirmation, SpaceX has stuck its 450th booster landing to date. That's as they currently stand, with a good liftoff and landing of the first stage booster, be 1075. That brought about the conclusion of actually the 18th flight, not the 17th. Little typo on my end there. This was the 478th Falcon 9 launch to date, the 61st of 2025. This was SpaceX's 142nd orbital launch within the last 365 days, the 126th orbital flight from Space Launch Complex 4 East, and the 194th overall orbital launch from this pad as well. Here's a look back at the bar chart here. SpaceX now tying the record from all of 2022 with this launch on May 23rd. Moving on to some recovery stats. This touchdown to be 1075 marked the 131st landing of a booster on the drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You. That was SpaceX's 361st drone ship landing, and as we mentioned, the 450th Falcon booster landing successfully in program history. Finally, with some industry stats, this was the 21st orbital flight from the California coast. That marked the 65th orbital launch from U.S. soil, the 71st from a U.S. rocket company, and the 111th orbital launch from around the globe. 3 orbital launch mishaps so far on the year. Here's where our pie chart now currently stands. Of course, we've got, in addition to the launch of The Starlink 12-22 mission coming up tomorrow afternoon from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station here in Florida. Flight 9 of Starship targeting next Tuesday. Our next flight from not the United States, but from U.S. Rocket Company is coming up with Electron from Rocket Lab, lifting off from New Zealand, Pad A at Launch Complex 1. That is the Full Stream Ahead mission, launching a Black Sky Gen 3 satellite into a mid-inclination circular orbit at 470 kilometers in altitude. Closing us out with some words from the community. I want to thank Ian Lita for a $5 super chat. Says this is the best place to share your love of launches. You guys are the best. Thanks for the kind words, Lita. Always good to see you.